Hello, I'm Brenda Martin with Inside Huntsville, and welcome to our show. The purpose of this broadcast is to inform you, our viewing audience, about the many services available through the various city departments. Today, we're highlighting the engineering department under the capable leadership of Kathy Martin. She's the director of engineering. Kathy, welcome to our show, and thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule, which I know it is, to come here and be with us today. You've lived here for some 35 years in Huntsville. You graduated from our city schools, and you graduated from Auburn University.
Yes.
And you've worked for the city some 20 plus years, and you've been with Huntsville, with the city of Huntsville, about 20 years or so?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Kathy, and you recently, let me say this, recently you became the director of engineering. What guided you into the area of engineering?
Sure. Yeah, well, having grown up in Huntsville for 35 years, as you had mentioned, I knew I wanted to be in some aspect of engineering. And I chose civil engineering due to its diversity. There's so many different types of studies that you could do in civil engineering, geotechnical, environmental, hydraulic structures. And so I chose civil engineering and was fortunate enough to find a job here at the city of Huntsville as soon as I graduated.
Okay, what's the difference between civil engineering and, say, another type of engineering?
I find civil engineers tend to be outdoors more often. We're not behind a computer so much as other types of engineering discipline. We're more hands-on as far as building infrastructure, so that really interests me as well.
Being out.
Yes.
Yes. Well, explain the mission of the City of Huntsville Engineering Department. You wear many hats under the engineering department, so you might want to explain that to us.
Sure. Well, our mission, we are under the urban development section with the City of Huntsville under Shane Davis's leadership. We tend to provide well-organized, cost-effective engineering municipal solutions to the residents of Huntsville, as well as other city departments and our business community as well. Our focus is on enhancing the economic base of Huntsville and to protect the public's interest as it relates to capital infrastructure.
What's your manpower?
We have approximately 30 employees right now, 9 engineers approximately, with about 13 inspectors. We have an admin staff as well as a real estate section.
And what does your real estate section do?
They are responsible for managing the appraisals and acquisitions of properties needed for city projects. They also, and a lot of people don't know this, but they manage the leasing of city property for agricultural purposes. So although it's not a big revenue generator, the main focus there is that it relieves the city from maintenance responsibilities on city-owned properties.
What are some of the services that the engineering department provides to our public?
Yes, of course. Well, we're kind of broken up into 4 different sections, and I think I've touched on some of that. We do have a project management section, which consists of 4 project engineers, and what they do is they manage capital infrastructure type projects that the city performs, such as roadways, sanitary sewers, drainage projects, bridges. We've recently got into a lot of streetscape development. So the only projects that we don't manage are mainly state roadway projects and private subdivisions that are beginning construction. So we do have another section, which leads us to our next one, our development section. And we have 2 engineers there, and what they do is they review subdivision and building and grading permits for conformance with city standards. And so they would review plans and construction processes when subdivisions are newly created, and then we would accept them into the city for maintenance purposes. Another section that we have, as I had mentioned, is our real estate section. Currently we only have 1 person in there right now, but she manages the purchasing of city easements and right-of-way for capital improvement projects. Another service that we provide to the city that a lot of people don't know about is our bridge inspection team. That consists of 3 certified bridge managers as well as 9 inspectors. They inspect about approximately 200 bridge structures within the city limits, and we inspect them for conformance with federal standards. And so to inspect a bridge means they have to get close enough to touch every element of that bridge. And so we do ensure that the bridges are in good condition and safe for the traveling public. We have a drainage section that consists of 3 engineers as well. And it's kind of broken up into flood studies to regulate flood areas, as well as a separate section where we address any public concerns that are associated with flooding or erosion along storm systems or major channels. And so we do have a very competent person that's been there 30 years that has a lot of historical knowledge about the drainage systems within Huntsville. And so we are able to address numerous questions and concerns that the public may have in regards to that.
Talk a little bit about state roads, because sometimes that's a little confusing to people, you know, city roads that are, or roads that are owned by the city versus the state.
Correct. Yes, the easy way that I can explain that is if it has a number associated with it, like 431, 231, State Road 255, which is our Research Park Boulevard. Governor's Drive is the only exception that I can think of in the 20 years that I've been here where the city took the initiative to improve Governor's Drive, although it was a state road. So usually if it has a number associated with it, then it is maintained and owned by the state versus the city.
That's great to know. Didn't realize that. What are some of the challenges of your department, and how do you handle those challenges?
Well, challenge, as everybody has, I'm sure, is funding.
Okay.
Trying to do as much as you possibly can with the amount of funding that's allocated every year to us. Construction costs continue to increase. It increases on average at about 4% per year. So we try to keep up with that type of inflation. Another challenge, though, is probably working with a lot of the federal and state agencies. They tend to have funding that's available to municipalities, which we welcome. However, if a project does contain federal or state funding, it does present new challenges such as in design review times and environmental review documents. And so it's an entirely different process when you're dealing with federally or state funded projects that could cause a project to take a longer time to move through design and construction. And again, back to the cost of construction increasing every year.
Every year,
so
sure.
it's a coordination effort between funding and scheduling as well.
I read that on an average, 20 projects are managed by each of your project engineers. Can you expound on that for us?
Sure. Yeah. As I had mentioned, we do have a project management section, which consists of 4 project engineers, and each one of them at any given time could be managing around 20 projects, some a little bit more, some a little less. And these projects vary from, a small sidewalk project to a $10 million roadway project. And so, people have strengths, and so we try to focus our engineers where their strength is. Some are more so in design to move a project along. Some are more so in construction to negotiate with contractors. Some have relationships with government entities that we try to expound on as well. So it really varies on who manages what, but we try to keep it consistent within the office to make sure everybody's workload is equal.
Is equal.
Exactly.
Your division is presently working on a multitude of projects, needless to say. I've listed a few here, and I'd like for you to talk a little bit about them. The first project I'd like for you to talk about is the Old Madison Pike project.
Yes, well, Old Madison Pike has been greatly needed for a number of years, as we all know, and that section is from Jan Davis to Slaughter Road, where it is very narrow and curvy with 2 bridges. The state is currently managing that project for us in construction because of the funding agreement. That project is on schedule to be complete mid to late next year. They're currently working on relocating utilities to move the bridge construction forward, and upon completion, that project will be a 5-lane roadway. It will have 2 new bridges that are approximately 400 foot in length now to span Indian Creek. They will be raised, they will be elevated approximately 10 feet higher than they are now. That project will also contain sidewalks and bike lanes and a new and improved greenway parking area as well. So it's, like I said, much anticipated, affects many people. So I do want to make sure everybody knows that the state is working with us closely, as well as Huntsville Utilities, to make sure we try to finish that project late next year.
Okay. What's the cost of that? Do you have any idea?
The construction cost is approximately $5.2 million for 3,000 foot of roadway.
Okay. Huge project.
It is. The bridges, like I said, 400 foot of new bridges increases the cost significantly.
Okay. How about Church Street?
Yes.
Church Street improvements.
Yes, we've got 2 phases of Church Street. That one is under construction and the other is still in design. The first phase is from Pratt to Oakwood, and if you're familiar with the area, the project you'll see has really taken shape. We anticipate paving that area and opening that road come September, October of this year, so we'll have that first phase complete. The next thing you'll see is utility relocation to start on the second phase of Church Street that will go from Pratt Avenue to Monroe Street. We'll have to relocate those utilities before we can actually bid the roadway project, but it will be a brand new corridor to access downtown from Oakwood Avenue, and it helps to redevelop the entire area.
I'm going to ask you on a sideline here, talk a little bit about the bidding process.
Sure. It depends, again, if it's what the funding agreement is. If it's city funded, then we go through a design process, and the bidding process starts off with an advertisement to all interested bidders, I guess you could say. The advertisement period is approximately 4 weeks long. In the midst of all that, we do have pre-construction conferences where we meet the bidders and let them know of any special considerations that are not in the plans and specifications. Once the pre-bid is held, usually about a week afterwards, we will have a bid opening. And after the bid opening, it goes before City Council for approval. And it takes about 2 weeks after City Council approves a low bidder before we can initiate a construction. So that would be if it's all city funded. However, if it's state funded, then it is a little different as well. Old Madison Pike is one of those, to where the bidding process could be lengthened up to about 2 to 3 months, just because they do things a little differently than we do.
Okay, how's that?
Well, it takes review from not just the local ALDOT office, but also Montgomery office.
I see.
So they have an entire team, a staff of people that just handle the bidding process alone. So it could take up to 3 months to actually bid a state-funded project if the state bids it for us.
That's information that's good for our public to
Yes.
know, and in terms of how the bidding process takes place. Another project that we have, and that's Zert Road, Martin Road.
Yes, affects many people in our community, as well as Redstone Arsenal. I think the biggest thing about Zert Road and Martin Road is people don't realize that it's multiple phases of construction going on out there.
What do you mean by that?
Currently, 2 phases of construction have already been executed. The first was the clearing and grubbing. If people live out in that area, they'll see that all the trees have been removed to accommodate the future lanes. So that was a separate project within itself. The project that's currently ongoing right now, that's near completion, is the fence relocation. To work closely with Redstone Arsenal, they will not let you breach any security fencing, so you've got to install the new fencing before we can even take down the old fencing.
I see.
So that is currently anticipated to be complete probably in the next month or two. The next phase of construction will actually show that the northbound lanes will get built to accommodate the future 4-lane divided section along Zert Road. So we anticipate to let a northbound lane construction project that will encompass the new intersection at Zert Road and Martin Road. After that gets complete, we will essentially have a 4-lane section. You've got the 2 existing lanes plus the 2 new lanes. And what we'd like to do is focus on Martin Road because we do not want to gridlock that area with construction to do both at the same time. Martin Road currently is a 2-lane section. The plans are about 75% complete. We anticipate it to be a 5-lane section with bike lanes and sidewalks as well. So we'd like to switch gears after we finish the northbound lanes of Zert Road and the intersection of Zert and Martin, and focus on construction of Martin Road to enhance that area, and then come back to complete the southbound lanes of Zert Road with the new greenway and the new bike lanes and the sidewalks.
When you're working with an area such as that impacts obviously our citizens and people who live in the area, what do you do? What kind of communications do you have with the people that, with the neighborhoods, to let them know that this is coming and you know, because it's going to impact their travel on a day-to-day basis. So what is it that you do with our neighborhoods?
Early on in the design process, when we initiate a project, one of the first things that are required to be done is an environmental assessment. And part of that environmental assessment includes a public involvement meeting. Right. So we do advertise for public involvement. It's a requirement, really, to get input from the public that shows up at these meetings.
Yes.
Those comments are all addressed and incorporated if possible, or addressed in some form or fashion.
Okay.
So that's the involvement, I guess, during the design phase, and of course people are welcome to contact us at any time to get a viewing of the plans or to ask us about status. But then also during construction, before we initiate a contractor on site, we'd like to touch base with everyone to make sure they know that it's starting. We do that through press releases and things like that, and shows such as yours.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And,
Great. Another project, the Huntsville Northern Bypass.
Yes. Well, that is part of our ALDOT funding agreement for one of the Restore Our Road campaigns that the mayor passionately addressed.
Yes.
So the intent there is to connect the current State Road 255, where it stops right now at Pulaski Pike,
okay,
and extend it all the way to North Parkway. And Bob Wade Lane is a very narrow 2-lane curvy road.
Yes.
And so what we'd like to do is extend the service roads that are similar to what State Road 255 currently has out to North Parkway in anticipation of 4 lanes and a large divided median. That project will also include about a mile of improvements along North Parkway to accommodate this new bypass, as you say, with plans to extend it across North Parkway in the future.
Now, when will that start?
It is currently under design. We are about 60% complete with design. It is state funded, as I had mentioned.
State funded, yes.
So the review process seems to
be a little
lengthen.
bit longer.
It tends to be lengthened. There is quite a number of acquisitions to be performed on that project, to the tune of about 100 parcels that we'll need to purchase in order to accommodate for construction. And so that in itself, depending on how acquisition goes, I would anticipate 2 years to acquire land. So we're shooting for mid-2016 to hopefully begin construction.
Okay, mid-2016.
Yes.
Okay, that's something that a lot of our well, I won't say employees, but a lot of our public is really interested in. So it's good to have those dates.
Absolutely. Well, to make that completed or semi-completed loop around North Huntsville will be tremendous for our traffic patterns. Absolutely.
Another project, and that is US 431 intersection improvements.
Yes, that is. Although the city has taken the lead in administering the construction of that project, it is a state roadway, as we had mentioned, with the numbers. So we are working very closely with ALDOT, but I know it affects a number of commuters in the area. So I do want to, I guess, highlight that project includes adding 2 signalized intersections, one at Old Big Cove Road and another at Caldwell Lane. And we will also be adding a new left turn lane westbound at Sutton Road.
Yes.
And so that signal will be modified to accommodate dual left turns as well. So like I said, the contractor is out there, but trying to minimize his impacts to traffic. We are down to one lane in the evenings going eastbound and one lane coming into town in the mornings to hopefully miss the rush hour traffic.
Right,
so
right.
That project is anticipated to be complete late this year, early next year. So we'll hopefully have everybody back to normal out there.
Well, that's just to name a few of the projects that you're working on. And thanks for sharing that information with us.
My pleasure.
Customer service is certainly paramount in Mayor Battle's administration. After all, the public is what? Our customer.
That's correct.
So share with us, how do you and your staff reassure our citizens that you have their best interest at heart in everything that you do?
Well, absolutely. Like I said, I've been here, with the city for about 20 years, and I can tell you that having worked as a project manager in the engineering department, customer service to ease people's concern, whether it be a new roadway project or a drainage concern that they may have, is our number one priority. And I think under Mayor Battle's administration with the Huntsville Connect app,
Yes.
we are in tune with people, I guess, and their concerns as it relates to things that we can accommodate. So, like I said, we're available, to answer any questions, to give any status reports, because like I was telling you, a lot of these construction projects, do affect many, many people. And
Yes.
so just, like I said, feel free to contact us and we can hopefully get you an answer, and if not, we'll know who to call to get you an answer. Exactly.
And talking about contact information, let's give our viewers the information that they need to, if they have any questions.
Sure. Well, the engineering division, you can contact us directly. It's at 256-427-5300. And our email address or mine is kathy.martin@huntsvilleal.gov.
We could really call this the Martin Show, couldn't we?
We could. We could.
Today. Kathy, I know you're very passionate about your job, and I recognize that the first time I met you. What do you like best about your job?
That's a good question. I mean, I like a lot of things. Like I told you, I chose civil engineering for a reason, and I feel like working with the city of Huntsville has allowed me to fulfill that goal. Our current administration never ceases to amaze me. I mean, they're able to focus on the future, such as the
Yes.
Restore Our Road campaigns, to look forward, but as well as what we can do for the public right here and now. Redevelopment of downtown, to aid in the school systems and things like that. So I think just seeing the changes in Huntsville and having a small part in that somehow has really been the greatest reward and what I like the most.
Well, we appreciate all the work that you do and
you.
your attitude. Also, I love your energy.
Thank
in
you.
this particular area. Well, my producer is counting me down.
Yes.
And it's certainly been a privilege to have you here to talk about all that you do in the engineering department. And on behalf of all the citizens in Huntsville, let me thank you for your dedication and your leadership in this very, very important department.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
One more time, let's give them, our viewing audience, the telephone number of our engineering department.
The telephone number is 256-427-5300, and that will reach the engineering department.
Okay, and your email?
Is kathy.martin@huntsvilleal.gov.
And that's our show for today. It's always a pleasure to highlight Huntsville City Departments. Tune in next time for another edition of Inside Huntsville. I'm Brenda Martin. Thank you for joining us.